Imagine two women, both in their early 30s, smart and ambitious. Let's call them Sarah and Emily. On the surface, they seem to have a lot in common. Both have successful careers, are well educated, and come from supportive families. But if you look closer, their lives have taken very different paths. Sarah is constantly putting others' needs before her own. At work, she volunteers for every extra project, stays late to help colleagues, and is always the first to organize team outings and birthday celebrations. With friends and family, she's the ultimate people pleaser, making herself available at all hours, dropping everything to lend a hand, and saying yes to every request, no matter how inconvenient. Sarah prides herself on being the nice girl that everyone can count on. Emily, on the other hand, has learned to set firm boundaries. She's focused and driven, carefully prioritizing her time and energy. While she's kind and generous, Emily knows her limits. She doesn't hesitate to politely decline when something doesn't align with her goals or values. Emily has mastered the art of putting herself first without feeling guilty. Who do you think is more confident, respected, and ultimately successful? The people-pleasing nice girl spreading herself thin, or the woman who advocates for herself while still being considerate of others? Let me ask you this: when you think of a powerful, admired woman, does the image of a doormat who constantly sacrifices her own needs come to mind? Of course not. Today I'm going to convince you that being typecast as the eternal nice girl is actually holding you back from your immense potential. We're going to shatter the myths around niceness and dive into strategies for unapologetically going after what you want in life. Who's ready to stop abandoning their power? Let's start by defining what I mean by the nice girl mindset. It's when a woman has been conditioned, whether by societal expectations, family dynamics, or her own insecurities, to always put others' wants and needs before her own. She says yes to every request, no matter how inconvenient or contrary to her own priorities. She's a chronic people pleaser who has a hard time saying no, setting boundaries, or speaking up for herself. The nice girl mindset often stems from deep-rooted beliefs that we're not worthy of asking for what we want. Perhaps as young girls, we were taught that being accommodating, selfless, and never making waves was the path to being liked and accepted. Many of us grew up seeing our mothers or other female role models defer to male authority figures and silence their own voices. Over time, this people-pleasing becomes a default coping mechanism. We learn that abandoning our own needs is the price we must pay for receiving love, avoiding conflict, and being seen as a good girl. But at what cost? This mindset trains us to constantly seek external validation at the expense of our self-worth. I want you to pause for a moment and think about the ways this nice girl programming has played out in your own life. When was the last time you said yes to something you didn't have bandwidth for, just to be viewed as easygoing and helpful? How often do you downplay your accomplishments or remain silent in meetings because you don't want to seem boastful or difficult? If you're being brutally honest, has this need to please everyone left you feeling burned out, unappreciated, or filled with resentment? For those of you nodding along, let this be your wake-up call. The nice girl trap is sabotaging your growth, confidence, and power. By constantly deferring to others and minimizing your own priorities, you are depriving the world of your unique gifts and brilliance. Don't believe me? Let me share some sobering statistics that illustrate the consequences of this mindset. You're probably thinking, okay, I get that the nice girl mindset is holding me back, but won't being more assertive mean I have to be aggressive or rude? This is one of the biggest myths we need to shatter. True confidence and standing up for yourself does not require you to be brash, demanding, or step on others. In fact, I'd argue that the most powerful, influential women are those who have cultivated an empowered yet respectful presence. They don't need to raise their voices or resort to intimidation tactics. Their strength comes from an unshakable sense of self-worth and boundaries. Take Jacqueline, for example. She's a VP at a major tech company, respected by her team and constantly praised for her leadership. When I met her, I assumed she must be a stereotypical ballbuster to have risen through the ranks in such a male-dominated field. But Jacqueline is one of the warmest, most approachable people I know. Her superpower is the ability to be direct and unwavering in her vision, while also making her colleagues feel heard and valued. Or what about Michelle Obama? Here's a woman who shattered glass ceilings and defied expectations while exuding poise, grace, and intelligence. She was a fierce advocate but never came across as harsh or abrasive. Michelle's strength was her authenticity and willingness to go high when others went low. You see, niceness is too often equated with being meek, passive, or afraid to rock the boat. But you can be assertive while still operating with empathy, emotional intelligence, and consideration for others. It's about redefining what those traits look like in practice. True confidence is feeling secure enough to have tough conversations when necessary, while also being open to different perspectives. It's knowing your worth so you don't have to constantly prove yourself or seek validation. And it's being able to separate your self-assurance from how others react to your boundaries. So let me ask you, when you envision an empowered woman who gets her needs met and doesn't tolerate disrespect, what does she look like? Chances are it's not someone berating others or throwing her weight around unnecessarily. An assertive woman can be nurturing, compassionate, and still liked by her peers when she operates from a place of self-assurance rather than insecurity. The real tragedy is buying into the lie that nice girls finish last and deciding that being cutthroat is the only way to get ahead. This is a limiting belief that robs you of your power. You're absolutely right that true assertiveness doesn't require adopting toxic traits or disrespecting others. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do to step into your confidence is to get crystal clear on your personal boundaries. Boundaries are simply the limits and rules we set for ourselves in relationships and life. They allow us to define what we will tolerate and how we want to be treated by others. Having healthy boundaries is an act of self-respect and self-love. But for many of us, especially if we were conditioned with the nice girl mindset, the whole concept of boundaries can feel selfish or uncomfortable at first. We've gotten so used to prioritizing others' needs above our own that the idea of speaking up for ourselves seems rude or demanding. Can you relate to this mindset? Maybe you found yourself saying yes to working late yet again when you're already stretched thin because you didn't want to seem like you can't handle the workload. Or you agreed to host the holidays despite dreading the added stress because your family expects it of you each year. These are examples of having porous boundaries where we don't enforce our personal limits and allow our time, energy, and priorities to be compromised. It's saying yes when we desperately want to say no. But here's the harsh truth. A lack of boundaries is actually a form of self-neglect. It conveys to others that your needs are unimportant compared to theirs. Over time, it breeds resentment, burnout, and even causes us to lose self-respect. Establishing clear boundaries, on the other hand, is one of the most empowering things you can do. It signals, I have standards for how I want to be treated. It allows you to show up wholeheartedly without being depleted or taken advantage of. Boundaries are the ultimate form of self-care. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Setting boundaries sounds good in theory, but how do I actually start doing it, especially after years of people-pleasing? Setting boundaries is a crucial first step, but it's just the beginning of truly advocating for yourself. Too many women have been conditioned to stay small, minimize their achievements, and avoid appearing pushy or demanding. We've internalized the belief that going after what we want and deserve is somehow selfish or unfeminine. But I'm here to shatter that limiting mindset once and for all. Getting comfortable with self-advocacy is one of the most powerful things you can do to level up your career, relationships, and overall confidence. Think about it. When was the last time you passed up a raise or promotion because you didn't want to seem ungrateful or high maintenance? How often have you stayed silent in meetings while less qualified colleagues spoke over you? If you're being brutally honest, have you ever settled for less than you deserve because you didn't want to be perceived as difficult? If any of those scenarios resonate, you've fallen victim to the insidious fear of self-advocacy that plagues so many women. We've been taught that going after what we want is selfish, so we downplay our brilliance and successes. We opt for complacency over rocking the boat. But here's the truth. Practicing unapologetic self-advocacy is not only acceptable, it's expected of any respected leader or top performer. The most successful people didn't get to where they are by waiting around to be noticed. They raised their hand, stepped up, and weren't afraid to boldly state their value. Just look at icons like Oprah Winfrey, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Serena Williams. These trailblazers never shrank themselves or dimmed their light. They knew their worth and went after opportunities with gusto, despite facing systemic barriers. Their self-belief paved the way for their record-breaking successes. The ability to confidently advocate for yourself is a game changer across all areas of life. In your career, it allows you to negotiate salaries, ask for stretch assignments, and get a seat at the table where decisions are made. In your relationships, self-advocacy helps you voice your needs, set boundaries with loved ones who overstep, and avoid settling for anything less than what you deserve in a partner. The path to self-advocacy starts with believing you are deserving of whatever you want to achieve or experience in this life. It requires letting go of the need for constant approval or fear of coming across as too demanding. As we delve into the final piece of this transformative journey, let's ask ourselves a critical question. How often do we let the fear of judgment or the need for approval dictate our decisions? If you find yourself holding back because you worry about what others might think, you're not alone. Many of us have been conditioned to seek external validation, but it's time to shift that mindset and embrace an empowered way of thinking. The empowered mindset shift starts with recognizing that you are not responsible for other people's feelings or opinions. This is a huge revelation, and it can be liberating. So often, we tie our self-worth to how others perceive us, whether it's in our careers, friendships, or romantic relationships. We fear that if we assert ourselves or express our true desires, we might be seen as selfish, unkind, or demanding. But here's the truth. Your worth is inherent, and it does not fluctuate based on others' approval. Imagine what it would feel like to walk through life with that confidence, to know that you are enough, just as you are, and that asking for what you want is not only acceptable, it's necessary. This mindset shift requires practice and persistence, but it can be achieved by challenging those limiting beliefs that have held you back for far too long. Start by replacing negative self-talk with affirmations that resonate with you. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't ask for a raise, it will make me look greedy," shift to, "I deserve to be compensated fairly for my work and contributions." Each time you catch yourself in a cycle of self-doubt, interrupt that thought pattern with a positive affirmation. It might feel awkward or unnatural at first, but with repetition it becomes second nature. It's also essential to surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. Seek out those who encourage you to step into your power and challenge you to embrace your worth. When you're in an environment that fosters growth and empowerment, it becomes easier to adopt that mindset for yourself. Conversely, distancing yourself from negative influences or those who belittle your ambitions is crucial for cultivating an empowered mindset. Another vital aspect of this shift is the courage to take risks. We often stay within our comfort zones because it feels safe, but true growth comes from embracing discomfort. Begin with small steps, perhaps it's voicing your opinion in a meeting or trying something new that scares you. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, you build resilience and confidence, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of achieving your goals. It's also important to acknowledge that setbacks and failures are part of the journey. They do not define you, they are simply opportunities for growth. Embrace a growth mindset that allows you to see challenges as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. When you approach life with this perspective, you'll find that your fear of failure diminishes and your willingness to take risks increases. Lastly, practice gratitude for your journey. Reflect on how far you've come and the battles you've fought. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small, and recognize the strength it took to get there. This practice will ground you in your worth and remind you that you are deserving of all the good that comes your way. As you integrate these principles into your life, remember that the empowered mindset is a continuous journey. It requires intention, reflection, and commitment. You'll face challenges along the way, but each step you take toward embracing your worth and advocating for yourself is a victory. When you shift your mindset to one of empowerment, you not only elevate your own life, but also serve as an inspiration for those around you. You become a beacon of possibility, showing others that they too can break free from the shackles of self-doubt and societal expectations. Together, as women who uplift each other, we can create a ripple effect of empowerment that transforms not just our own lives but the lives of those we touch. So let's commit to this journey together. Let's embrace our worth, set our boundaries, advocate for ourselves unapologetically, and cultivate an empowered mindset that propels us toward our dreams. The world is waiting for your brilliance. Don't hold back any longer. Step into your power and watch as your life unfolds in ways you never thought possible.